Good evening, Tanse Anine. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Daryl Stranger. There's some absolutely devastating news tonight out of the music world. Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Robbie Robertson has passed away at the age of 80. Robertson was known as one of the premier songwriters of the 60s and 70s. He collaborated with Ronnie Hawkins and Bob Dylan before forming the band, one of the most influential groups in rock and roll. Robertson was born in Toronto. His mother was Mohawk from Six Nations of the Grand River. Robertson also had a successful solo career and was an author and a composer. He recently completed his 14th film music project, Killers of the Flower Moon, with frequent collaborator Martin Scorsese. In lieu of flowers, the family has asked that donations be made to the Six Nations of the Grand River to support a new woodland cultural center. In Saskatchewan, leaders of the Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations want a non-Indigenous man arrested who allegedly threatened a young Indigenous woman with a firearm. The incident took place August 2nd, where a young Indigenous female was approached by a non-Indigenous man driving a tractor on a rural road near Pearceland, Saskatchewan. The older man allegedly pointed a firearm at the young woman and threatened to take her life. Vice Chief Heather Baer says FSIN is taking this incident seriously and are asking for the arrest of the man who made the threats. The RCMP released a sketch of him and are investigating the incident. They are asking anyone with information about his identity to contact Crime Stoppers.
Over and over, we see investigations not being taken seriously, or, when it comes to our indigenous women and girls, we see many times when they go missing, they're not looked for. We see when they make complaints, they're not taken seriously, and, that has to stop.
A new watchdog report that examines the violent arrest of a man in Kingite Nunavut in 2020 has found under-resourcing to be the main contributing factor to what transpired that night. An investigation by the Civilian Review and Complaints Commission for the RCMP was first announced 3 years ago. The man was hit by a moving RCMP truck door and dealt knee strikes as police were attempting arrest. He was stripped of his wet clothing and later beaten by his cellmate. He was left seriously injured in his cell while in his underwear for over 10 hours. He was not provided opportunity to contact legal counsel during his 18-hour detention. The report found that under-resourcing was a factor in every aspect, stating that the understaffed RCMP members made considerable efforts to manage their workload. It states the detachment received 37 calls that night, but had only 5 officers on staff. Due to the recommendations, the Kingite Detachment building will be entirely replaced to better house prisoners. Indigenous journalists from around the globe are in Winnipeg this week. The Native American Journalists Association is holding its National Native Media Conference in the city on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. It comes as NAJA celebrates its 40th anniversary, but also looks to some changes for the years ahead. For more, NAJA Executive Director Rebecca Lansbury-Baker is here in studio. Rebecca, thanks so much for taking some time and joining us in studio here today. We'll start off with, can you explain to us or tell us who's all coming to this conference and where are they all coming from?
Absolutely. We're so excited to be here in Winnipeg and at the APTN studios. We have journalists coming to the 2023 National Native Media Conference from all over, so across the United States and of course here in Canada. And so we're very excited to host our conference across the medicine line and invite NAJA folks from across North America and beyond to attend our conference in our milestone 40th year. So it's a very exciting time to be a NAJA member and to be involved in supporting and empowering our Indigenous voices and stories.
Well, how important is it to gather together Indigenous journalists from around the globe, and what are some of the things that delegates will be taking part in at this year's events?
Great question. So our programming this year is really great, and as it is every year, of course, but I think for this year especially, it's just so important for free press issues in Indigenous communities. That's something that's really special to our NAJA programming that is not happening, anywhere else in the world. So there are lots of really great journalism conferences, but I think when it comes to the National Native Media Conference, convening Indigenous journalists from across the globe, there's just this community, and it's kind of almost like a family reunion when we all get together because we share some of the same struggles and of course the same celebrations when we have victories in our own communities and reporting on our own stories. I think that community aspect of it is something that's so unique, and I know lots of folks who have been coming to the conference for all 40 years, and they really look forward to taking the time to spend together in community, and again, going, whether it's to our breakout sessions, we have climate justice, reproductive issues in Indigenous communities, repatriation, so many issues that are, again, very unique and important to our communities that, these conversations aren't happening anywhere else. So people get to come together and really celebrate what it is that, makes us unique as Indigenous peoples. And that's something that's so special and can't be, I think, replicated at any other journalism conference.
Mm-hmm. And I like the point you made, it is like a big family reunion. So I love that little piece there. And now, as you mentioned, it's a big year for NAJA, celebrating its 40th anniversary. How important of an organization would you say NAJA is as a whole?
Yeah, that's a great question, Daryl. And I think for me personally, this year marks my 10 years as a staff member of the Native American Journalists Association. So to be here and to see our milestone 40th anniversary is just so special. And we're also, coming up on, I think today is actually the last day of online voting to potentially see a name change for the organization. So there's a lot of big things in the works, I think, for NAJA, and it's always exciting to look back at the past and celebrate those accomplishments and how far you've come. When I started at NAJA in 2013 as a staff member, we had around 220 members, and those were mostly from here or there in the US. And so I think now today, looking at our numbers, we have more than 900 members across the US and Canada. And so that growth as an organization has been huge. And I think it's really in response to, the work that we're doing in our mission. So, whether that's supporting and training mainstream newsrooms or providing resources for Indigenous newsrooms, those are just such important buckets of work that are more important, today than they were even when we started 40 years ago. So to see the growth and the support of the work that we're doing in our mission is incredible.
Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to add this last question in quick. I know you had already talked about this name change, but NAJA is going to be dealing with some business this year as well, including the vote on the name change. So maybe can you just tell us what the name change might be to quickly?
Absolutely. So the Native American Journalists Association is considering a vote to change the name to the Indigenous Journalists Association. And the organization has been, talking about it with our membership over the last, probably 3 or 4 years, and considering that to be more inclusive of our Indigenous journalists, again, across the medicine line and globally, because that is really where our work is headed. We're doing work with the UN, with CC UNESCO, with UNESCO broadly. So I think some of those international expansion goals really support this name change, and so really looking forward to see what the members come back with and what that vote looks like, but we'll be revealing it live on stage during our membership luncheon during the conference.
All right, well, there's plenty of things to look forward to this weekend. Rebecca, we'll have to leave it there, but thank you so much for coming in. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Mado, thank you.
All right, we have to step aside for just a moment. Plenty of news ahead, including the opening of the Alberta Indigenous Games. Stay with us. Welcome back to APTN National News. Today marks the 29th annual International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples. August 9th observes the first meeting of the United Nations Working Group on Indigenous Populations in 1982. The Governor-General of Canada, Mary Simon, marked the date. In a press release, she applauded young Indigenous peoples around the world to address global challenges. This year's theme is Indigenous youth as agents of change for self-determination. Simon said the youth need to be directly involved in policies that impact their lives, such as climate change, injustice, and inequality. According to Seven Generations youth advocate Kaylee Anderson, lost culture is an issue too.
We have a lot of youth that want to lean into culture and language, but they don't have that opportunity. And that's where we're most vulnerable, is because our grandparents, our parents, they didn't have this opportunity. It was taken. We've learned that over the years. We've known that since we were young. So that is, I think, a huge issue. Like, I'm learning my language now. I know youth that want to learn their language and want to learn their culture and teaching. So that's one of the biggest issues I find.
The Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms was translated into 6 Indigenous languages this week. It's to mark the International Day of Indigenous Peoples on Wednesday. The languages the charter was translated into include Inuktitut, Ojibwe, Mi'kmaq, Swampy Cree, Michif, and Ojibwe. The charter forms a part of the Canadian Constitution, upholding various rights and freedoms. The different versions can all be found on the federal government's website. Well, the Alberta Indigenous Games open 11 days of competition in Edmonton on Wednesday, and with thousands of athletes coming from across Alberta and beyond, it looks to be the biggest one ever. APTN's Chris Stewart has more.
The Alberta Indigenous Games are working on final preparations for Wednesday's start of what will be a week and a half of competition across the city of Edmonton. And young athletes are already in town to show their stuff in a multitude of events. Jacob Hendy is the CEO of the Games.
18 sports across 11 days at all different venues throughout the city. And we have communities coming from the NAJA, Little Red River Cree Nation up north, the Piikani down south. We have some teams coming from Quebec, from Ontario. We probably have about 7-8% of our teams and athletes from outside of Alberta that are coming in to play and be part of our games.
Handy says there is a variety of skill levels competing, from beginners to the highest skill levels.
There's no tryouts, and so they can come and play, and then if they don't do good the first little bit, or if they just selected their beginner, we put them in a really fun beginner tournament. Meanwhile, your really competitive teams that are, say, in basketball or those sports, they're in their own thing, and we have different sets of medals for both.
So that avoids mismatches?
Yeah, so it avoids the best we can mismatches from them having to do that.
Handy says that these games are open to those athletes who are not allowed to attend the recent North American Indigenous Games in Halifax due to COVID-19 vaccination protocols.
A lot of athletes are really excited that didn't get a chance to go to NAJA, that were denied because of the COVID-19 vaccine mandate to the games like a few weeks ago. But we have a lot that are coming to our games, and so we're really excited to be able to have a games for them to come be part of and play sport and make friends.
And the athletes competing might have an opportunity to be seen by academic institutions.
We have scouts from college universities out that we've connected with to recruit for the older kids. We have scholarships for the older kids that are enrolled in secondary, university, school, or trade. It just means everything, and just hearing the kids come talk and share their gratitude, and seeing on Facebook, social media, their swag, and all the communities are getting decked out and they fundraise and they look so good, and so it's pretty special.
The games have seen a massive increase in participants, going from 300 in 2011 to several thousand now, perhaps even having more athletes than the North American Indigenous Games.
Yeah, we do believe that we've become larger than NAG in the terms of athlete participation. On the NAG 2023 website, it says they have over 5,000 athletes, coaches, and officials, which is amazing to have all those athletes from all over the US and Canada. However, our games, we have just over 5,000 athletes alone, and we have between 6,500 and 7,000 athletes, coaches, and officials. And so we're really excited.
And for the first time, the Games will be hosting a Masters Games, where athletes 21 and older can compete. That happens from September 29th to October 1st in Edmonton. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
All right, we have to take one final break here on the program, but don't go anywhere. Weather and our photo of the day is coming up. Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. Today's picture comes from Jocelyn McCree. Jocelyn grabbed this picture on a recent hike in Tynehead Regional Park in British Columbia. Thank you for sharing that, Jocelyn. If you want to be featured as our photo of the day, email your shots to share@aptn.ca. All right, now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. We begin on the East Coast, 18 degrees in St. John's and 26 in rain in Halifax, 16 in Happy Valley Goose Bay and 17 in Cartwright, 25 in Quebec City and some showers and 25 in Montreal, 24 degrees in Toronto and 22 in North Bay, 19 degrees and showers in Wawa and 20 in Sioux Lookout. Clear 19 in Churchill and 18 degrees in God's Lake. 21 degrees in Barons River and 21 degrees in Winnipeg. 24 and some showers in Regina and 20 in Saskatoon. 14 degrees in Buffalo Narrows and a mix of sun and cloud, 19 in Stony Rapid. Moving over to the west to 16 in Fort Chipewyan and 19 in Peace River. Some showers in 21 in Edmonton and 27 degrees in Lethbridge. 20 degrees in Victoria and 22 in Quesnel. 18 degrees in Prince Rupert and 18 as well in Dease Lake. 20 degrees with the mix of sun and cloud in Whitehorse and 21 in Rock River. 22 degrees in Wrigley, and 24 in Norman Wells. 26 degrees in Clear and Tuktoyaktuk, and 25 in Colville Lake. 18 degrees in Cambridge Bay, and 21 in Arviat. 13 degrees in Arctic Bay, and 7 degrees in Iqaluit. Since 1986, the Tetlik Gwich'in have been hosting the Midway Music Festival filled with drums, fiddles, and dance. Carly Jogner was there and has this story.
Surrounded by wafts of forest fire smoke, the Gwich'in hosted their 36th annual Midway Lake Music Festival. It happened 30 kilometers away from the community of Tetlige, Fort McPherson, along the Dempster Highway near the Yukon border and out of cell service. This year's special guests were the King of the North, Ernest Munoz, the Fort Good Hope drummers, and the Tetlik Gwich'in dancers.
It's good to see everybody again, of all the drummers and all the musicians, and just everybody dancing, I guess. It's fun.
All the live music, it's pretty good. No service. Everybody likes to stay in camps. Everybody stays out at night. It's pretty fun. Every night coming out here just so we could jig. Anyone could come out, jig, have fun.
Especially jigging all night.
And right now we're probably gonna play a square dance.
They play square dance.
Square dance is so fun.
Yeah. Even though sometimes it could go on for hours.
Different from other music. No lyrics, you have nothing, it's just straight up a catchy beat. Everybody just want to get moving when they hear this.
And when you dance and when you hear the audience, that's the best part.
The Arctic Food Bank is an initiative of Muslim Welfare Canada, and representatives were there handing out backpacks of supplies, including Ontario Senator Salma Autaulajung.
We've been traveling actually all over Inuvik, and we went to Tuk. Yeah, and today I thought we'd come and take in the festival because it's such a big festival, and we distributed backpacks to children from grade 1 to grade 12. It's normal that we donate as much as $60,000 worth of food to the Ottawa Food Bank, to the food bank in Ottawa. So it's about, as Muslims, we give back to the society we live in, irrespective of ethnicity, religion. So that's what we're trying to do. And the Fill a Backpack is one of my favorite events because the look of delight when you hand the children the backpack and they see they've gotten something, and we felt so welcomed. And it showed us that really we're all the same, with the same hope and aspirations. And I think we really felt the love today. And for that, we're grateful.
At 90 years old, Thomas Manuel has been coming to the festival every year by boat, even with this year's smoke. The grandfather of the Fort Good Hope drummers, he says it's a place to love and appreciate music no matter where you're from.
McPherson people, they always welcome everybody. They feed people, they got food from the land. I really enjoy it. When McPherson people, they told me I was already a fiddler in my time, and I guess the people know that I could play the violin.
He reflects on when the gatherings first started in 1986 and the importance of passing on the healing power of music.
When I first came to Midway, just opened, still a lot of old timers here. And I asked them questions, and I asked them, how come you guys were in the drum dance and hand game, and how come you guys don't have it here anymore? And one of them went and told me, we had hand game, we had drum dance pretty well every night when the big days come, like Christmas, New Year, Easter. We used to gather in Fort McPherson. We have hand game, we have drum dance. And the first priest that came to McPherson, and the priest went and told us we were doing this for the devil, so we quit. That's how come we go. And after years go by, and I come down here with my boys, and my boys they enjoy square dance, fiddle dance, shaking walls. They love doing it, and I myself too. I love square dance, shaking. I just love it. There's a lot of things. Happiness, if you have happiness in your body, we should pass it on to the young people. What means happiness?
Sunday ended with canoe races and jigging contests for all ages. Carly Schogner, APTN National News, Midway Lake, Northwest Territories.
It's a great story there, Carly. And with that, that is all we have for you on this Wednesday edition of APTN National News. If you missed anything from our show tonight or you want more information, our website, aptnnews.ca, has what you need. For all of us here, thank you so much for joining us. Miigwech, Kinanaskmatin, and have a great night.